Hello, everyone. Hi. I hope you can hear me well because everything froze for a second. Welcome to our webinar. So we have three beautiful guests here, and if I could ask you guys to introduce yourselves. Erika, please.
Ladies first. Right, okay. So I'm
Of
Erika
course.
Brodnock. I'm Erika Brodnock. I'm the founder of software companies Karisma Kidz and Cami. My specialism is around helping parents to navigate the journey to parenthood, and then once they've had the children, to look at how they can help those children to develop skills such as emotional intelligence and grit, and to develop a love for learning. So much of my work has been focused in that specific area and taking those skills into a digital format for the last 8 years. I'm also Sky News's resident parenting expert, so have quite a vast experience of both technology, creating tech companies, but also parenting as a mum of 5 myself as well.
Wow, that's really amazing. Amir, would you like to be next?
Yeah, of course. My name is Amir Sabirovic. I'm the managing director of InterWorks Netherlands. InterWorks is a company from Macedonia. Have 16 years of history behind us, and we're specialists in providing businesses with solutions regarding data integration, application development, and actually integration and DevOps on the backside of the company, solving their business challenges in the digital world through technology. I have a background as business consultant in IT. I also founded a startup in artificial intelligence for a management consultancy I was working with. So my background is technically business consultancy combining with IT, which in most cases are uncombinable because these two practices do not understand nor communicate with each other that well. Next to this, I also run a podcast challenging the status quo, actually inspiring, motivating people to overcome the life challenges as they appear for young professionals and students. I'm a father of an 8-year-old boy, and I'm happily married.
Awesome. And Ivan, our third guest.
Thank you, Matt. I've got a lot to live up to after those two introductions. My name's Ivan Skoric, and I'm co-founder of Walk the Wheel. And we are all about bringing and making and taking technology closer to the creative process. And what that means is we work in advertising and marketing industry, which typically and traditionally has been a very manual-driven industry. With the advent of digital technology, social, there's a lot of channels, there's a lot of content and comms to be created. And the manual way of doing things can't actually continue because you just don't have the budgets and the time and the actual people and resource to be able to create all the content and comms that you actually need. So we're taking creative automation into the creative process. I'm 44. I'm half Mancunian from England and half Croatian. 2 children, very, very positive, always looking for the positive outlook. And also I like to think of myself as a technology geek who can also can talk to people as well. So I like to think of myself as a hybrid.
Awesome. Great to hear that, guys. Myself, I'm Matt Kurleto. I'm the founder of Now Terry. And I will be hosting today's discussion. And the reason for us to meet is that we are all under a very unusual circumstances these days after COVID-19 outbreak. So when we faced that situation at Nauteric, we asked ourselves, what will happen to our industry? Where will it go? Will it all collapse, or where will there be some differences between different industries, between different aspects of IT investments? And what we actually found out is that the market has divided itself almost equally into the part that will be growing, the part that will be decreasing, and the part that will stay more or less at the same level as it is today. And that shows that you have to navigate smart, whether you are a VC investor, whether you are
Crazy.
Okay, it's not due to us. We're still here.
Yeah, we're still live, so I'm guessing that.
Yeah, we are.
Hopefully he comes back.
Well, I don't think holding your arms for that long will go well.
Yeah, I just messaged Matt. I'm not sure if he's aware that we lost him. Hope that he will be back soon. In the meantime, for those who watch us and haven't seen the report, Matt is lost. Here is the link when you can download it. There will be quite a lot of references during the whole webinar, so I encourage you to. Okay, Matt is back.
Do we hear each other?
Okay. I believe we do.
Okay.
We can, Matt.
Okay. Sorry for that. As usually in such situations, I would like to say a big thank you for a very professional service of my internet provider. Hopefully, this one will manage a little better. So I want to ask guys to ask you because the COVID-19 has changed a lot the way we work, and your first idea of the things that you hope will stay after the COVID-19 from our today's lives to the new normal, or however we want to call this.
Do you have a preference who should go first?
I think you can go first, Amir.
Shitting. So the question was what I would like to remain. Yeah. So I think
because
everything.
there are some things that are good right now, right?
Yeah. So for me, I think human beings are social animals, right? So I think every kind of close contact and movement between and with people is healthy for your mental state, but also for building the relationship. So I hope that actually everything remains as we have done it the same. The only thing that we should not do, I would say, is actually travel that much, because we are actually finding all four of us are at this point from calling from different locations, while we have the same effect of communicating with each other. So I believe that we are doing meetings more sustainable. So I think that I hope that our lives can go as they were, except that we can organize things more efficiently and utilize the technology for the sake of the human race.
Great.
I think that I'm inclined to agree with that, Amir. I think that
Erika?
yeah, I think that I'm inclined to agree with Amir. I I believe that we have found new ways of working that mean that we're able to connect to people virtually. And so I think that that's going to have a massive knock-on effect on how many startups are going to be able to work without needing to rent office space, which can sometimes contribute to quite a substantial cash burn when you're in the early phases of development. So being able to work together in this new way should, I think, impact the number of startups we're able to see working in a really lean way to solve some of society's biggest problems, which I think is going to be really interesting and exciting. I think that somebody will come along and develop a way of video conferencing that means that we're not reliant on individual ISPs, and they are going to be the true winner out of COVID-19 because of the fact that this way of connecting in some respects is fantastic, but actually for large groups and when you're in a place that doesn't have very good connectivity, there are still some massive problems. So I think there's a huge opportunity there for people that work in this space to solve that problem and to do really well. And I think that from the perspective of families, not having to commute for a couple of hours each day is sometimes having a positive effect. I think that certainly from my own perspective, cooking things from scratch rather than being able to rely on having a takeaway from time to time and little things like that are certainly improving my quality of life and enabling me to be fitter and healthier. I've been working out a lot more. So there are some real positives that we could harness. Not least being able to save quite a bit of money in terms of being a lean and disruptive startup.
Ivan or Ivan, what do you prefer?
Yeah, it's Ivan.
Ivan, so what's your point of view on that? What will be something that you wish will stay with us after the pandemics?
I'll be honest, I think Amir and Erika have taken everything away from me and what is possible to actually say. I concur and agree with everything you've said. I think being the last in these kind of these questions and discussions is always a bit of a disadvantage. But I think I'd probably go just on a different slant, and I'd say, you know, one of the positive things that has come out of this situation is that people are actually open to having conversations about different things now. And that for me is a really, really big thing, not just about technology, but the ways of living, you know, down to how we are with our neighbors and our fellow humans. So I think it's opened up the agenda. I think when I look at it, what I'd like is that we continue on the conversation about opening up agendas. But I think what we really, really need to do is start answering some of the questions that are actually formulating are now on the agenda now, rather than just a continual conversation of it. So there's lots of things in motion. But I think if we go back to even just video conferencing, as an individual, I've used video conferencing for 15 or 20 years. I've been using WebEx for many, many years, working in the advertising and marketing industry. So personally, I don't see that as any innovation. I think the innovations come that there's lots of people now who have not used it before who are actually taking advantage of it. But I think now is a brilliant opportunity for us to really, you know, start afresh on a lot of things, change agendas, get people thinking differently, not just in analog ways, but in true digital collaborative ways. I think that's a big opportunity. And I just hope that we can continue these conversations and really make big changes. That's the biggest thing for me.
So, Ivan, would you say that in your industry, in advertising, did COVID-19 happen as a catalyst for digitalization? Because you said it's quite a traditional industry.
Yeah, in terms of collaboration and technologies and automation and those kind of things, we are a very, very traditional kind of people-based industry. So there's lots of opportunities to embrace technologies in real innovative ways. And like I said before, it's not just about using video conferencing so we can connect together and have meetings, because we've been doing that for many, many years. But it's actually looking at the ways of working. And if we go back to Erika's really, really valid point, and I think it's a point that we all think is valid, is spending more time at home with families and actually living our lives rather than working. And, the advertising and marketing industry has traditionally been a 12-hour-a-day working industry with people in studios and pitching for new business and, having to pixel push things around pages and then, deliver media ads and comms. And I think what technology actually brings to the table is to say, we can actually redefine a balance. We can actually create more space and time for each other to do exactly what we're doing, creating amazing ideas, fantastic marketing campaigns, global output. But actually, we can actually spend a little bit more time thinking and breathing. And that thinking and breathing creates and stimulates better ideas, better collaboration. It allows our talent to stay within the industry rather than looking for new industries that give better working conditions, maybe better pay. It really can readdress that balance of space and time for us all, the technology item.
So in a way, you'd say less is more.
The irony with marketing and advertising is that we're creating more things, but I think with technology that can take away a lot of manual tasks, then it just opens up a hell of a lot more time for everybody to actually create more ideas and actually live better lives. And that's a real passion of ours, is to say, technology is not just doing things in a smarter way and it's a cool, innovative way. It actually creates space and time for people. That's the thing. We don't want to be driving the tech agenda and then people are still working 12, 13-hour days and really struggling. We need it to actually improve our ways of working. And I think this is a real opportunity for us in the marketing and advertising industry.
And how do we avoid, getting crazy with all that spare time that we have saved from commuting, Erika? You're in the mental health space, right?
I am indeed. So I think that practicing good mental health care is essential whether we're commuting or not. And so finding things to do that resonate with you is the biggest thing here. The status quo at the moment is to say, okay, meditate. But actually, meditation doesn't work for everybody. If you're somebody that has a really racy mind and you like things to be quite quick and snappy, then it's about finding whether it's exercise or a jog or listening to music or using spoken word or what have you, but just understanding enough about yourself to know what that thing is, and then practicing that thing on a day-to-day basis. And my advice is always that you start small. So you start with a 2-minute practice of whatever it is, and then build up over time until you're in a place where you can say, actually, I'm doing 10 minutes a day of X and 5 minutes a day of Y. And those are my chilled moments where I can just find myself and center myself. And doing it in that incremental way means that you're never fighting against yourself or using willpower to get into that space. You're doing it from a place that feels completely congruent, and because obviously it's completely tailored to you, because you've chosen it, it works really, really effectively in terms of keeping you balanced. I'm one of those people where, I had 5 young children, and the minute that each of the children got a little bit older, I decided to get a cat and a dog, and I'm off to do a PhD soon. If there's a minute, I'll fill it. So it's a case of don't be like me is the best advice I can give to people, in all honesty. And really do take that time for self-care. And I think that there's also one of the things that I pride myself on is being honest. I'll answer the question honestly if I'm asked it. And I think that that's another thing that we really are starting to see now. You're seeing into people's homes and into the inner side of them that they normally are able to keep hidden when they have to travel into a place of work on a day-to-day basis. And I think that that really gives us the opportunity to start to be more honest and open about who we are and the things that make us tick and what makes us happy. So that we're able to live more fulfilling lives post COVID-19, particularly because lots of us will be dealing with emotions such as grief and anger and anxiety and loss in terms of jobs, money, etc. I think that the narrative around being kind, being adaptive, and being open and honest with each other and ourselves is going to be what gets us through this.
Amir, how does the situation impact artificial intelligence? It's actually when I look at the results of our survey, I can see that artificial intelligence is one of the industries that most of the companies say they will invest more in, and only very few companies say that they will invest less in. Do you already see a bigger interest in artificial intelligence?
So I think the biggest issue here is that most companies are in love with a dream. I mean, take COVID-19 for example. Why didn't AI help us prevent the spread? If we are even talking about artificial intelligence. So I think that the current state of AI is actually on post-stamp level, solving particular problems in particular industries on very small scale. And actually, the dream that the AI thought leaders are promising the companies that there will be some, the egg of the Columbus that will solve all their problems is a far fetch. And the issue comes from it that actually when you dive deeper, like analytics and reporting, most companies don't have that. 9 out of 10 companies in the Netherlands don't have real-time analytics and reporting. And when you dive even more deeper, you see that data integration is one of the biggest challenges of modern age. There is so much within the companies. An approximate company has 900 systems and applications running, and you want a single point of truth to be able to have real-time decisions on strategic, tactical, and operational level. Now, if your data is not integrated on any kind of level, I don't care what kind of industry you are, you cannot run any kind of analytics nor reporting to these levels. And let's train an algorithm to do so. And even if it's trained, the funny thing about COVID-19 is that actually proven that the algorithms are not stable. Why? Because we're not predictable. They thought we were predictable, but actually look at the recent report that was published a few days ago that actually showed that the online shopping algorithms went berserk because they couldn't predict anymore what we were ordering online. And that was due to our non-predictable shopping behavior. Our shopping behavior changed tremendously when COVID-19 hit, because we started ordering things that we never ordered before. And for something
like
that
games, or in my case.
Yeah. So, and people started ordering survival kits, tons of salt, toilet paper, I don't know what, while they were ordering all other things. So I think that while we want us to believe that artificial intelligence is the solution for everything, we're far from it. And we first have to realize where we stand as a company and understand which kind of data is useful for us. And we do not do that based on what technology can do, but actually where we want to go with our companies. So starting from business challenges and business opportunities, rethinking our new business models, and then from there see what kind of technology can adapt and solve your problems. So AI, although I preach and teach about artificial intelligence, I always like to demystify it and put it on the ground like it really is. And I'm kind of missing that. So most companies that are in love, they say, we're going to invest in AI. I'm really curious to understand what they mean by that.
That's really, really interesting. Ivan, does your industry plan to invest in AI more or less?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Matt. You know, back to Amir's point there, it's a very, very broad phrase, if you like. I mean, AI of what? AI of finances, of engineering, of creativity, of supply chain, of it's just very, very broad. And I think back to Amir's point, it's got to be taking baby steps and coming back to what your business objective is and taking incremental steps. I mean, the irony behind the whole situation that we're actually in is that it's actually stimulated conversation around lots and lots of areas. But once the actual lockdown comes out of play and people are free to actually roam and go back into offices, I'd like to actually see who actually takes on board what they're talking about at the moment. But like I said, AI is a broad brushstroke of so many things that it's very, very difficult to actually say what, in my industry, in advertising and marketing, what people are actually looking to do with it. Lots of conversations, lots of presentations, lots of fantastic ideas around it. But we need to get some basics in place first of all. So yes, it's an interesting point. I think the conversation and the discussion will go on for many, many, many years, and we're literally just scratching the surface at the moment of it.
I think that is, if I may add to Ivan, that's a very good one. You know what the difference is between machine learning and artificial intelligence? If it's machine learning, then it's Python. And if it's artificial intelligence, then it's PowerPoint.
That's
so
good.
What do you use?
Sorry to interrupt them. It's a really, really important point. There's lots of these conversations happening, and I think we have to get realistic with things. There's obviously there has to be discussions. There's lots of stakeholders. Budgets. There's lots of these conversations. I think it's baby steps. It's always baby steps. It's looking at what the business challenges are, and really looking at incremental change. You can't just do wholesale changes. So I think there's a lot of conversation to be had yet on this.
All right. So following up on that, I wanted to ask you, how do you think what are the areas that the companies will invest less? Because that's always something that people are interested. What will grow? What will be positive? But what are actually about the things that are going to go down? Do we see any bubbles that are bursting today?
I can go on that one. If sorry, Erika, go ahead. You even haven't had a go, so
no. Well, I was just going to say that the obvious one for me is the that kind of rent a desk office space type model will probably suffer the most out of the back of this, but that was already in the pipeline of bursting with everything that we saw happening with WeWork prior to COVID-19 anyway. So it was just a very short point. So please do go ahead, Amir.
Yeah, so I was actually going to point, I think real estate and offices are dead. I believe there was an article on that, they did a research about 500 or 1,000 CEOs from Silicon Valley, and they asked them what they're going to do after COVID-19. That actually 73% said our people can remain home. Twitter did that. Facebook did that. I think the impact of that decision of you don't have to return to the office is the following: that Facebook already announced that they're going to reduce salaries. There is no logic to it, but they're going to reduce salaries while you're working at home at your own cost. So that's the balance in the thoughts. So I think that will definitely change. I also see that today we are, I don't know if you know you probably know the term, the new way of working, right? That was introduced in 2010, right? Everybody will be remote working, etc. But actually, that we never made that because our mental model is very linear. So we were very fond of our offices and coffee machines and doing things the regular way. Now we're forced. And the funny thing is that most companies that have a physical business model, where you actually have to go to the customer, you have to talk with him, so actually interact, are challenged because they did not use the technology to leverage and come up with new business models and products and services to actually leverage the technology. Today, they are ramping up this and they're all moving online. Everything is moving online. So Erika mentioned it, the internet service providers should actually facilitate the huge events. I was just a week ago, I was visiting a company that scanned me in in 3D, so I can present all over the world in 3D. It will be me, only I'll be sitting at home with the VR glasses, delivering the message and reducing the CO2 outburst. So I think that the biggest impact is going to be felt in any kind of management consultancy will feel it, any kind of physical, like restaurants and cafes are feeling it, and then down to agriculture and food, where actually it's still a thoroughly manual process. And then you have the whole logistics and supply chain. So getting food from one part of the world to another part of the world. So I think we have some issues there, how we're going to continue that in the new situation.
Ivan, I'm really curious about your opinion on these results, because in our survey, the number one IT solution group that companies said will invest less in is marketing automation. Do you think it's the marketing automation is slowing down as an industry, or is it something specific for the group of companies that we had answering those questions?
I think that could be possibly the group of people you had answering, but I also think there's multiple different areas of marketing that actually could benefit from automation. So there's all the way up to the creative process, coming up with ideas and developing those ideas to then actually be delivered into market. And then there's obviously the big automation platforms at the moment that you actually see, like Salesforce and Oracle and all of those types of platforms. They're not going to go away. In terms of investment in them, maybe there's a peak, but I think there's a lot more in the advertising and marketing industry, a hell of a lot further to go with actually automation. And I think what I was saying before is that's more kind of up to the creative process where the time is spent by people. So I think there's a lot more that can actually move up into the creative process with marketing automation. But it's definitely not going away. That is absolutely sure, 100% sure. But if I could, Mike, if I could just go back to the point that Amir and Erika were talking about before, I think there's a couple of things that are always in my mind, and that is, human beings are not definite, like you were talking about before, Amir, in terms of like purchasing behaviors. And we need human interaction. And also, if you have a look at our lives are split up into work, play, travel, home. So you're still going to be actually going out. This is the key thing. There's been lots of conversations I've seen about retail is dead, e-commerce is the way forward. forgive me, but when I go on holiday, I'm not going to sit in a hotel or an apartment I've rented and order an Uber Eats. I'm just not going to do it. The world's going to just change a little bit. This is not like retail's dead, people to people is dead. That for me is just ridiculous. People, I just think that comments for the sake of comments. People need people interaction. That doesn't mean that we can't work from home. And I think lots of us have been working from home in the past. I think there's a lot of people, obviously, you're looking at teachers and schools, and you're looking at healthcare as well. They're not going to be able to work from home. Yes, they're getting closer in terms of you've got online platforms and mobile platforms for doctors and diagnoses and things like that. There's always going to be a need for face-to-face. And I think, even if you have a look at big businesses of real estate investors, if you have a look at New York and London and Singapore, they've made hefty investments out there. And I think, personally, it's a gut feeling, I think we will actually see face-to-face coming back a lot quicker than we actually thought. Maybe not the renter desk like you were talking about, Erika. I think, that was possibly a challenge business model to begin with. But I think we'll see, because people miss the people interaction. I think we'll quickly see lots of people actually wanting to get back into offices or spaces where they're actually with the fellow co-workers and humans. Sorry, Matt, I digressed there. I just wanted to make a point on that.
No, that's totally very interesting. Yeah, I think that the new normal way for a lot of companies is a mix of being online and offline. That's something that resonates from a lot of debates. That we both need the social aspect, and probably the offices will change more into a social space for coworkers to collaborate, to interact with each other, maybe even to rest, because you will be used to working at your home desk. So the office will be a pleasant way to have some time with your coworkers in a more cozy situation. Erika, I see you're smiling. Is that something that you would like?
You have. It really does. It depends on how many children you have and how stressful working at home becomes over the months.
I thought that could be something really supportive for the parents as a way to get a little break during the day.
What you said that working from home, I mean, we didn't mention that group here, but I believe that lawyers or in the Netherlands are doing quite awesome, because people that were married for so long are getting divorced just because they forgot who the other person was living there. So now they were forced to live with that person for 2 months, and they said, well, that's not really a good option. Let's part.
I think that's happening.
Really, but like there's a spike in divorces in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So if we could, move to the little closer to the summary of our conversation. So, if you were to, sum it up as you see it, from this IT perspective in your industries, who will be the winner in this challenging times? Who will prepare themselves most for the new reality?
Who wants to go first?
Ivan,
Ivan is always the last. So.
Yeah, maybe this time, Ivan, you can go first.
Well. First of all, I was hoping to say, Matt, that the four of us would be the winners out of all of this.
I'm backing that.
That's the first thing. So
I take that as a promise.
You know, I'll be honest with you, Matt. I don't think there's a written rule book on, you know, what success is. When you're successful, it's easy to look back over the years and say, this was my route to success. This is what you should actually do. And again, you know, based on human nature, I just don't think we can actually guess these things. I think, yes, people will want to embrace technology more. Yes, people will want to actually see efficiencies through technologies. You've got a myriad of different things. I mean, Amir was talking about, you know, data and reporting. And then you've got Erika, you know, we're talking about mental wellness and mental well-being. I don't think there is a plan to success. I really don't think. And out of all of this, who knows what is actually going to happen? I have no idea. I think the only thing, again, from my perspective, is the agenda has been written. We are discussing these things. And I'm just hoping that we can actually collectively, as individuals and businesses, find solutions that work for everybody. That's a key thing for me. I don't like to think of winners and losers and who's going to come out on top. But I think there's lots of things that we should actually continue these conversations about. I just hope that it's not all dropped and we just go back to business as usual, you know, on the trains, you know, working the 12, 13-hour days. I hope that doesn't happen. I think there's massive opportunities. Winners, I don't know. I couldn't honestly say who's actually going to come out on top. I really, really don't know. I just hope everybody comes out on top.
I suppose following on from what you're saying there, Ivan, I think that the winners from this crisis are going to be the people who put staff first, who look at being human about people's lives and working conditions, and indeed furlough schemes or whatever else is in place as support measures. I think that human side, that very I care about who I'm working with and how my workforce feels and what support needs they have and how we address those going forward, they're going to be the people who get people to work for them. And a business without its people is dead. And so I think that enabling people to give their best is going to be, or should be, the priority of every CEO at the moment. Amir said something earlier around people's wages being cut and salaries being cut, even though they're working at home at their own expense. I think that what's going to happen is that at the minute that anybody else starts to rise up the ranks and is treating staff better than that, they will vote with their feet and walk. And I think that people will lose really good people if they aren't able to adapt and turn around and start to put people first.
That sounds like, yeah.
So I think that actually the combination of every one of us here, I mean, from the business perspective, is actually something that is essential for the survival of any type of business in the future. So I would say that what you see is that we paused as human beings, right? We paused and we were all thinking, what the hell were we doing? Even just mentioned we're working 12, 13 hours a day. We're commuting, we're in traffic, etc. For the sake of what? Where am I and where is my family, my acquaintances and everything? I'm a human being. I have my needs. I'm not addicted to my laptop. So I think purpose over profit, or as the chief commercial evangelist of Tony Chocolonely would say, love economy. I think that is the future. So I think that people or employees that feel home at the company and that knows that whatever will happen, what kind of apocalyptic event would happen, they will be safe and sound. That is the future for any kind of company. But also understanding the customer needs, understanding where they are and how they can meet their needs instead of pushing a product. And that's more from the marketing perspective on what Ivan stated, like marketing is also face-to-face. It's actually your interaction and your journey and what you experienced that counts most. So you can get probably a drink in a hotel delivered to your room, but when you go to the bar, you probably have an event that you will remember or not. And from other side, I think looking at from InterWorks perspective, I think the business challenges will still remain. The digitalization pace that was actually left behind, the digital transformation of the company has become a necessity for a lot of businesses to really survive, to go from offline to online business models and serve their customers both ways, but customers can choose how they will interact. And for that, data integration, data analytics, and building applications on top that can have impact on decision making are essential. So I think it's a combination of all four of expertises, human beings being able to interact and providing the technological aspects of it, but from a human perspective, what is necessary for a human being rather than, pushing technology for the sake of pushing technology.
Yeah, if I may, Matt, back to your point there, Amir and Erika, I think that's Forgive me, Matt. What we're saying is, I think that point there, Amir, what you've said is absolutely pertinent, which is not pushing technology for the sake of pushing technology. And I think, Erika, going back to your point, which is also really, really valid, is, I think businesses need to look at their culture. I think that's a really big thing. If you've got a culture that's been, over the past 15 or 20 years, very, very difficult to change that culture based on, what's actually happening today. And I think culture is a really, really big thing. It's a huge thing that has an impact on absolutely everything. And again, if you've had people who have been working in organizations for many, many years, change is scary. There's fear in change, and it doesn't matter how much technology or AI or ideas you have. If you don't change your culture, you're just going to stay as you have been for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So I think culture, people, technology together, that has to be something that comes out of all of this.
Yeah, and if I may add, Ivan, it's actually the culture with the vision and strategy towards the future. The communication and behavior is actually key, because technology at the end is only enabling. It's doing nothing. Because if we agree that if we can agree on the bus, then it doesn't matter where the bus drives. We agree anyhow. But if we all four of us disagree, then even if we know the destination, it won't be pretty sitting in that bus.
That was a really good summary. So guys, thanks a lot for your time and for sharing all those insights. Before we finish, I wanted to invite you all to download our report and see yourself how the COVID-19 has impacted IT investments. And before we go, Erika, we have one question from the audience that I'm really interested in having answered, and that's a question to you. Yeah. What is your toughest challenge handling kids? I've never seen such a quiet place for a teleconference with 5 kids around.
So I'm used to using Zoom where I put a different background on, so that if the dog starts running in the background or kids enter the room or whatever, it's normally hidden. And as I've said that, here comes the dog. It was bound to happen at some point. I knew it was bound to happen at some point. Someone would. So the toughest challenge managing children, I suppose, for me, is around understanding that each of them are individual people and have their own personalities and love languages and wants and needs and desires, and sometimes they align with what I want. It's back to Amir's bus. Sometimes we're all driving in the same vehicle, headed in the same direction, and sometimes we're just not. And having to unpick that and understand where in the process we've managed to get into 2 different vehicles without me realizing, is one of the most challenging things that I do on a day-to-day basis. Because invariably, with the sheer number of children I have, someone's always in a different vehicle at some point. So finding that consensus and finding that alignment is key. And one of the things that I do, I'm gone into parenting expert mode now, but one of the things that I do is I do a weekly scrum meeting on a Sunday, and I ask everybody for their priorities for the week so that we can make a schedule that somehow manages to incorporate the key things that everyone wants to have done. And we all know what everyone else needs of us so that we're better able to meet those needs. I think sometimes what happens...
A family scrum meeting.
100%, we run agile in this house.
Agile family. That's just something I need to introduce you with my associate, who's a huge fan of Scrum and a great agile coach. I know that he loved the idea of running family Scrum meetings. Guys, thanks a lot for all of your effort, for being here. So I hope we will have plenty of occasions to discuss further. Erika Brodnock, Amir Sabirovic, Ivan Skoric, thanks a lot for this discussion, and have a very good evening.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you all. Stay safe and healthy.
Yes, likewise. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. That's all.